Hi guys, this is Sam from A1 Australia, IELTS PT and RT coaching, and today I'm going to discuss four PTE listening tasks, which although they do not contribute much marks to your PT score, but if you want to get 7 each or 8 each, they are pretty important. Okay, so these four PTE tasks are your MCM multiple choice multiple answer, your MCS multiple choice single answer, your HCS highlight correct summary, and your SMW select missing word. Okay, so as you can see on the screen is our A1 Australia portal. Okay, so right now I'm logged into a student's ID, Manjinder. Shout out to Manjinder. Okay, so this is our dashboard. As you can see, the student has registered for 35 mock tests. So all of these mock tests have real PT exam questions. Okay, and 100 section wise tests, and we have more than 4,000 questions in our portal. Okay, so this is our question wise test. All right, so when you click on change question type, you can see that you have the four modules: speaking, writing, reading, and listening, and you have got the tasks for each of the modules. So for reading you have 5 tasks, for writing 2, reading 5 again, and then for listening you have 8 tasks. Today we're going to do this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, so let's start with highlight correct summary. So for all of these 4 tasks, what you can do is you can try and make notes. By making notes, I mean that you can write down the keywords. Okay, because some of the students do not have a good retention power, good retention memory. Okay, so what you can do is you can take down notes, make notes, and then compare your keywords, the keywords that you wrote, with the options to choose a better answer. Okay, so let us start with this one. And highlight correct summary, you will hear a recording, and as the name suggests, you will have to select a summary. Okay, the correct one. Okay, so here every information would be given. Okay, there would be nothing would be left to assume. All right, so let's start here properly, and then we'll compare your answer, okay, and to the correct answer. Okay, let's start here properly. So the recording will start in 10 seconds now. Let's make sure the volume is full.
I want to look now at the three main approaches historians have taken towards the English Revolution, or Civil War. There is a fourth point of view, taken up by most school children when they first meet the subject, but it can hardly be called historical. On the one hand, school children tend to have a romantic image of the Cavaliers, who were supporters of the monarchy, as aristocratic, charming, flashily dressed, and up for a bit of fun. On the other hand, they tend to regard the Roundheads or Puritans, who were followers of Oliver Cromwell, as miserable, working class, dressed in black, and insisting on a life without luxuries. It isn't difficult then to take sides. The first approach, which prevailed up until the middle of the 20th century, was that the revolution was part of the age-old battle between Parliament and the monarchy, with Parliament representing the traditional rights of Englishmen against the attempt by the royal family to increase its power and dictate law. In reaction to this, the second approach saw it as a working-class revolution and an important stage in the development of capitalism. In other words, they saw it as a class war and a forerunner of the French Revolution and those that came after. Historians who supported the third approach saw that things weren't as clear-cut as the others thought. Instead of seeing the revolution as the result of long-term trends in the country's history, and therefore almost unavoidable, they focused on the details of the period immediately leading up to its outbreak, and allowed for its unpredictability. The two sides also weren't so clear-cut, with some aristocrats supporting Parliament and some members of the working class fighting on the side of the monarchy.
Okay, so this is the option that I will choose. Okay, let's see. And yeah, okay, because everything that the speaker said, like I told you earlier, nothing would be left to assumption. I think there would be nothing that you'll have to assume. Okay, so in the second one it says that later he realized there was more to it. Okay, so the speaker realized, but then he said the historians realized. Okay, and here it said there was a fight between the Cavaliers and the Puritans as a battle for power between the Parliament and the monarchy over the rights of Englishmen. So Parliament was had the rights of Englishmen, and they were up against the monarchy, who had, then I did not hear because I just got my answer from here. Okay, so yeah, so Parliament and the monarchy were not fighting over the rights of Englishmen, and everything that the speaker said was in the first option. Okay, now let's switch it up a little bit. Let's go to question number 20. And yeah, let's go. So as I said earlier, carefully listen carefully. So the recording will start in 5 seconds now.
We all know that the capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. However, when America first became a country, Washington didn't even exist. Back then, Philadelphia was the logical choice as the new country's capital.
Why Philadelphia? Why not Boston, New York, or even Charleston?
For several reasons. First, Philadelphia had a roughly central location in the U.S. at that time. Also, it had been a focal point of the American Revolution. The Continental Congress had met there before the war, and several major events took place there. So, why is Washington the capital and not Philadelphia? Mostly because of a riot in Philadelphia in 1783. Congress was meeting there when some soldiers disrupted them. The soldiers demanded payment for their service during the war, but Congress had no money. It asked the government of Pennsylvania to protect it, but the government refused. Congress promptly left Philadelphia, so that, ruled out Philadelphia. Congress realized it couldn't rely on the states to defend it. Thus, the members of Congress decided to create an entirely new area called the District of Columbia. Several states competed for the right to host the district, but ultimately, Congress decided on a stretch of land between Virginia and Maryland. Like Philadelphia, it was near the geographical center of the country. The necessary land was given to the federal government. Construction on the new capital then began, and that's how Washington, D.C. became our capital. Let's look at its design now.
Okay, this one was pretty easy. So the first, I'll choose the third one, because it said they never met in Philadelphia, but they did meet there before the war. The second one is very close to the answer, but it says that the government of Pennsylvania failed to protect the federal government, so it's Pennsylvania, right? And the third one, everything is correct in my opinion. The fourth one said that Washington DC between Virginia and North Carolina. It was not North Carolina, right? I hope I am right. And huzzah! Okay, so yeah, if you want to, you can make notes, and that will help you understand the context, the content better. Okay, like you make notes in SST, you make notes in detailed lecture, so that you understand it better, right? So you can do the same thing here. Then we move on to select missing word. Okay, so now select missing word. In select missing word, what happens is you'll hear a lecture, you'll hear a recording, but the last word of the last sentence would be replaced by a beep. Okay, and then you'll have to select that missing word. Okay, so for this one, what I ask students to do is try to focus on the first 2 3 lines more, so that you understand what the topic is about, and then try to focus on the last line properly. Okay, you have to focus on the whole thing, but make sure that you get the context and you get the last line, what it means. Okay, let's start.
Let's see what's happening on the seabed. Okay, so these really remarkable features are known as black smokers. Don't forget, we're now 2.5 kilometers down. The light, it's all pitch black. What we're seeing is the lights from the submersible. So imagine you're looking at this out from your porthole and it supports.
Okay. So now most of you would have selected all this fabulous life. Okay. But this question is very tricky. Okay. So it says all this fabulous life, but the answer is something rather uninteresting, because all the way she's talking in a positive sense. Okay, she's talking in excitement, she's awed by the beauty of it. Okay, but the thing is, when you uh how do I say this? Okay, when you hear it all, okay, she says that you're looking out from your porthole and you see all this dash, not all this, and you see dash. Okay, so as she said, it's pitch black, you cannot see anything. Okay, but here you cannot put you can't see anything because it is, and it supports you can't see anything, doesn't make sense, right? And she's talking excitement, but at the last moment the tone changed. So imagine that you're looking out from your window because it's all very beautiful, but imagine you're looking out from your window and it supports something rather uninteresting because it's pitch black, you cannot see anything. Okay, now let's go to question number 20 again. And if you have any doubts at all, you can comment down below and I'll be happy to reach out to you and clear any doubts that you might have. Okay, now listen carefully.
When parents are asked how they handle their very unruly children, most will admit that they are likely to use physical forms of punishment. This is not to say that a parent generally hits their child each and every time they are bad. Nevertheless, parents generally use physical punishment as a last resort, after having unsuccessfully tried other forms of discipline with children who have become very bad. Those who believe in physical punishment, however, are unaware of the fact that it does not lead to better children. In fact, the opposite is true. Research findings show that children from homes where corporal punishment is the norm exhibit more antisocial behavior than children whose parents seldom or never hit them. For example, children whose parents systematically use corporal punishment are more often than not behind any classroom disruptions. Such children not only create discipline problems at school, but they are also overly aggressive. In addition, they have extremely low self-esteem and a negative attitude to those around them. On the other hand, children whose parents use less harsh methods of discipline have a healthier attitude towards their school environment and.
Okay, so now they're talking about children and they're talking about school. Okay, so school environment and parents would not be correct, partners would not be correct, punishment doesn't make sense. So it's peers because they're talking about schools. Peers mean the person or the people who are at the same social level as you. So if you're working at a company, your colleagues are also your peers. If you are in school, your classmates are your peers. So things like that. Then we move on to MCM, multiple choice, multiple answer. In this task, there is negative marking. So we ask advice and ask students to just choose one option and move on. Okay, because as I said earlier, these tasks do not contribute much marks to your PTE score. So just choose one, be on the safe side, click next. That's it. Okay. If you are sure for more than one option. If you're sure about more than one option, choose more than one option and move on. Okay, so let's start with the first one. And in MCM and MCS, multiple choice, multiple answer, and multiple choice, single answer, the question is very important. Let's start. Let's see.
The term tidal wave is often inaccurately used for a tsunami. Tsunamis have nothing to do with the action of tides. A more accurate term is seismic sea wave. There has to be a disturbance of the Earth's crust to produce a tsunami. Large earthquakes with epicenters under or near the ocean are the cause of most tsunamis. Volcanic eruptions and undersea landslides are also responsible, but unless accompanied by movements of the ocean floor, their effects are usually localized. Possibly this was true about the eruption of Krakatoa in 1883. A tsunami was responsible for most of the deaths caused by Krakatoa, yet this tsunami did not sink any ships. It did wash away several coastal villages and kill more than 36,000 people. Tsunamis work in complex ways. Some pounce on coastal settlements like large breakers. Others produce a gentle wave that floats buildings off their foundations. But then a violent backwash may sweep buildings and people out to sea. The tsunami that wrecked Hilo, Hawaii in 1946 was so forceful it folded parking meters. It caused needless deaths when people returned to save their belongings and got caught between waves. The deeper the water, the lower the tsunami and the faster it moves. In the open ocean, it travels at about 700 kilometers per hour, but being sometimes no more than a meter in height, a tsunami often passes a ship unnoticed. This is what happened in 1896 during a catastrophic tsunami in
Let the
Japan,
recording run out.
which was the result
We are
of an
going to take
undersea
our time.
earthquake. Thousands of people were drowned on shore, while fishermen far out at sea didn't notice the waves passing beneath their boats. But when they went home, they found their villages destroyed.
Okay, so now this recording was a pretty big one, and we had our answer before the middle or before the recording had been half. Okay, so we had our answer, but just let all of the recording play, because you never know, right? So there you go. Now MCM and MCS are the same thing, so no, there is no use of me explaining MCS, okay, because that would just wasting your time, right? Also, this is like a 20-25 minutes video. This will be a 20-25 minutes video, so there's no point of me wasting your time because nobody has this much time. I'm here to make you understand what are the tasks and what you can do. So
Long-term exposure to noise can lead to loss of hearing. The relative loudness of sounds,
which sounds could contribute to hearing loss? Just putting that out there.
to give you an idea of what this means. The sound of a whisper is 30 decibels, while a normal conversation is 60 decibels. The noise a vacuum cleaner makes is around 85 decibels. The danger zone, the risk of injury, begins at around 90. Continual exposure to sounds above 90 decibels can damage your hearing. Loud noises, especially when they come at you every day, all this noise can damage the delicate hair cells in your inner ear. Lots of everyday noises are bad for us in the long run. For example, a car horn sounds at around 100 decibels. A rock band at close range is 125 decibels. A jet engine at close range is one of the worst culprits, at an ear-busting 140 decibels. The first thing to go is your high-frequency.
Okay, it was pretty easy because he ruled out the conversation. He ruled out the vacuum cleaner because they were under 90 decibels, and above 90 is when the hearing loss starts. So it's jet engine and rock band, right? So let's do one more for the road, and we'll be done with the video. So you can practice, and I can go home. Finally. So let's start. Okay. Which of the following could be used to describe the course? Now we'll see what is the course. Okay.
What would you hope, Dave, that students would take from the course, and what new ways would you hope they might become engaged through doing this course?
Several ways, really. It's an interdisciplinary course. We present quite a bit on the science of climate change very early on in the course, so that students can understand the scientific process and how scientists have reached the conclusion that they have. We've developed a model for students to look at. I hope they'll also understand a lot more about the environmental policy process, how policymakers make policy, the constraints they face, and the challenges that they have to overcome in order to make a difference. I hope that students will understand also a little bit more about their own way of life and perhaps engage critically and reflectively, as we on the course team have done in the process of making the course, something more about their own environmental impacts, their own ecological footprints, and what they can do as concerned citizens and consumers to make a difference on what is, I would suggest, the most pressing public welfare issue of the 21st century, which is global environmental change. And humanity has not faced a crisis like this before. We've had other risks in the past, the threat of nuclear warfare during the Cold War, for example, but this problem is of a different order of magnitude, I would suggest. And I would agree with the ambassador we interviewed that would say that we have a moral responsibility to act now to deal with these problems.
Yeah, cool. So these are three options because he said global environmental change, and environmental science and environmental policies. He did say ecological footprint, but he said that students have an ecological footprint. But the question is about the course. So the course is interdisciplinary. The course is relevant to students' own lives. The course is centered on global environmental change, environmental science, and environmental policies. So that is what I meant when I say keep an eye on the question, describe the course. If you did not remember the question, you would have chosen this one and you would have gotten a negative mark. All right. So we have a lot of information for PTE. Regarding PTE on our YouTube channel, we have lots of reels, we have lots of shorts, YouTube shorts, where we just give out general information, and that is the information that will help you crack PTE. Okay, so do visit our Instagram channel, the link will be down below. You are already watching this video, so please visit our YouTube channel and see if something suits you. Okay, so every detail, every information about us, our numbers are given in the description below, so you can call us. We have helped more than 25,000 students. Okay, our results speak for themselves. Okay, and please comment down below if you have any doubts at all, or which topic would you like me to make a video about next. Okay, my name is 𝐷𝐸𝐴𝐚𝐜𝐿, PT tutor, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep practicing. All the best.